Hello and welcome. I'm making a little set of catnip eggs today. I'm going to take you along as I make this last one. If you want to make one along with me, the things you'll need are a 4mm crochet hook, some scissors, yarn needle, whatever kind of stuffing you like, worsted weight yarn in whatever color you want, and optional catnip. That's everything. Let's get started. Starting as we often do with our magic circle, we're crossing the long end over the short, going through the front with our hook. We're going to wrap the yarn, pull it up, do that one more time, and there's our magic circle. You can make your magic circle any other way as well if you've got a way that you like better. We are going to single crochet 6 into our circle, so we're kind of holding it together. The side that has the 2 pieces of yarn is the side you want to work down, so we're going in, wrap, pull up, wrap, pull through 2. And we're going to keep doing that until we have all 6. Once we have all 6 single crochets, we'll be able to use that starting tail on our magic circle to bring that circle into the circle shape. So once you have all those, we're going to leave that hook in there so we don't lose that last stitch. We're just taking that tail and you're going to yank on it as hard as you can. That's going to bring that little line of stitches together into a circle. We're finding our very first stitch we worked on, that very first one there. We're going to go in with that hook. And once we get in there, we're going to wrap our yarn. We're going through there. We're slip stitched to join here. So we're going to go through and then through that last one we made. We're going to chain 1 and then we are going to keep going, working on round 2. Round 2 is going to be a plain old little increase around here. So we're going to go into that very first stitch, right under where we made that chain, and we're going to make a single crochet, and then to make it an increase stitch, we're going right back into that very same stitch to do a second one. So now we've got 2 stitches in that one spot. We're going to do that again and again and again until you get to the end. You'll end up with 12 stitches. You'll slip stitch to join just like we did at the end of our first round. And then we'll chain 1 at the end there to get ready for round 3. So keep going, keep finishing off these increases, 2 single crochets in every stitch, join them at the end, chain 1, and then we'll meet back together for round 3. Okay, we finished those first 2 rounds. Before we start our way through round 3, we're going to flip it, turn it inside out. We're grabbing that tail that we started with in our yarn needle. We're going to thread that tail onto our yarn needle. And then we are going to grab one leg of any stitch in that beginning round, pull through till you got a little loop there, and then just make a little simple knot. And we'll make it as tight as we can. Now that tail can just stay on the inside of the toy. We don't have to worry about it coming undone or loosening up at all. Okay, so now we can start round 3. Round 3 is going to be another increase round. In that very first stitch, we're just going to make 1 single crochet, so right under where you made that chain. And then that next stitch is going to get 2 single crochets. So this is our increase. We're repeating this pattern all the way until the end. So we're going to go 1, just a plain single crochet, and that next one gets 2. When you get to the end of this round, you should have 18 stitches. We'll slip stitch to join. We'll chain 1 and we'll get back together for round 4. Round 4 is another increase round here. This one's going to be a little different, a little bit of an odd count. We're going to do 3 single crochets to start, so 1 in each of the next 3 stitches. And then on that 4th stitch, we'll have that increase stitch, so we're making 2 single crochets into this one space. We're repeating this all the way until our last 2 stitches. So we are kind of jumping ahead on intervals, so we will have a couple of little spare stitches at the end. We will be totaling at 22 stitches at the very end there. You'll slip stitch to join, you'll chain 1 once you finish, and then that next round, the whole round is just plain single crochets. So you're going to go ahead, finish this increase round, remembering you'll have 2 extra stitches at the end. You're just going to give them a plain single crochet in each. Then we'll join, chain 1, and then 1 stitch for every stitch on that next round. And then we will get back together for the round after that. We are on to round 6. This one's going to be our first decrease round. we're going to have a plain single crochet in the first 2 stitches, and then those next 2 stitches are going to get worked together. So we're decreasing here, grabbing the front loops only of those next 2 stitches. We'll wrap our yarn, we'll pull through both of those, wrap, and finish like a regular single crochet. So again, we are going to have a little bit of an odd count. We're doing a single, and then working 2 together. And if you don't like to do the decrease the same way I do them, it's totally fine with me as long as you're doing a decrease stitch. Doesn't have to be that exact same one. Anyway, at the end we are still going to have those 2 spare stitches, and they're just going to stay as regular old single crochets. We will slip stitch to join. When you get to the end of the round, we'll chain 1. And then rounds 7 and 8 are plain single crochet rounds again. So we're going to end up with 17 stitches. Oh my gosh, my poor kitty is having a fight with her toy over there. I don't know if you can hear her. She's quite literally having it out with a stuffed giraffe right now. Anyway, so 7 and 8 plain single crochet rounds. Nothing fancy about them. They'll each have 17 stitches. And then we will meet back up for round 9. We are ready for round 9. This is going to be another decrease round. So our first 3 stitches are going to be plain single crochets, 1 for every stitch, and then we are going to work 2 together for the next 2 stitches. So maybe you grab the front loops only of those first 2 stitches, wrap that yarn, pull through both of those, pull through the 2 on the hook, and we are repeating. We're going to have that same odd number system happening here. So this is going to take us from 17 stitches down to 14 stitches. And when we get to the end, we'll have those 2 spares, and we're just going to give them each a plain single crochet. We'll join the round, we'll chain 1, and that following round is just a plain single crochet round. So you should have 14 for the next one as well. So 1 in every stitch. We'll join at the end, we'll chain 1, and then at the end of that round, it's going to be a good time to start adding your stuffing. So catnip first if you're adding catnip, then whatever kind of stuffing you're using, as full as you can get it without it getting in the way of your stitches. And then we'll meet back up for those last couple of rounds. Stuffing is in. We've got 2 last rounds to go. On this one, we're going to have another decrease round. So we're going into that very first stitch, 1 plain single crochet, and then we are working 2 together, and we're repeating that pattern all the way until the end. So we got 1, and then we are decreasing. This is going to take us from 14 stitches down to 10. One thing that's going to be a little bit different about this round is, even though we've already added stuffing, when we finish this round off, we are going to add just the tiniest bit more. We don't have to add any more for the very, very last round, but for this one, just a little itty bitty bit. Just better to get the bulk of it in there while the opening is still a little bigger, so we can jam our fingers in there a little more. So we've got those 2 spares at the end, and they're just going to get a plain single crochet each. And if you want to wait to slip stitch until you put your stuffing in, you can, but if you got smaller fingers and you could join and still be able to put just a little bit more in there, go for it. So adding just that tiny bit more. And just like before, we want it to kind of fill out the toy as much as you want it to be filled without it coming out of any of the stitches and without it getting in your way on this last round. So you don't want it like sticking up out of the toy at all. Getting it down in there. The last round here, it's going to be all single crochets 2 together. So it's all decrease stitches. So if you haven't already, we'll chain 1, and then we are going to work those first 2 stitches together, and you're just going to keep doing that until you get to the end. So this is going to take you from 10 stitches down to 5. We'll slip stitch to join at the end. We're not going to chain 1 this time because we will be tying off our ends. So when you get to the end, we'll cut a kind of like a medium length tail. We want to have enough that we can weave the very top closed and still have enough tail left over to tie off and to hide on the inside of the toy. There we go. Okay, so we are going to find that very first stitch and join, leaving that last loop in there wherever your scissors are. Okay, now that we've cut off that tail, we're going to wrap that yarn over the hook one more time. We're going to pull it through that last loop and tie it off. Now we just need our yarn needle. Once you have that yarn needle, we're just going to thread the tail on there. No need to tie it off, just leave enough of it sticking out so that it won't come off. We're going into the very first stitch, out through the next with that needle. We'll pull that tail through there, and we're going to just repeat that again until you're back at the beginning. So you'll end up with that tail toward the inside. We are going to pull until that last little bit of an opening at the top there is all the way closed. Then from the outside, we're going to grab that little join there. Kind of looks like a little ladder across, so just grabbing that very top one and making a simple knot. I will make that as tight as possible. And then just whichever way that knot lays the flattest, we're going to go through with that needle, pulling the tail all the way out of the toy. We're going to give it a little tension and snip off the tail as close as you can without getting any of your stitches. And then that tail will just pop right back in there. And then there we have it. Our little egg is all done. Hope you had fun. Thanks for joining me. Bye.